welcome back to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bailey. I like to make college videos as well as career videos on my channel. I also make a lot of like day in the life type of stuff, which are just really fun for me. But today I'm going to be sharing, wow, it just got really dark outside suddenly. Okay, anyways, today I'm going to be sharing some budgeting tips and tricks for you and how to save more money. I am no financial expert. These are just some things that I learned as a broke college student who is working full-time and going full-time to school, doing internships, the whole nine, and hopefully preparing to move to Washington, D.C. Here's to start my career in 4 short weeks. 4 short weeks. Wow. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, my first tip is to write down your financial needs and goals. I found that kind of putting on paper in a secure place, a notebook, a diary, your laptop, your phone maybe, kind of just some baseline things was really helpful for me to reference, especially when I was like doing some calculations and stuff. It was really nice to just have it laid out. So I just kind of wrote down a baseline of how much I was making every month, as well as how much I knew I was spending and kind of what I wanted to keep that at. I also made sure to list any of my bills, and when you list them, it really surprises you. I didn't really realize how many fixed expenses I had. Fixed meaning things that I can't really change, like my rent, my groceries, things like that. But there's also things that I could easily change, like subscriptions I have. I could cancel Spotify or Netflix or things like that if I really needed to, things like that. So definitely write those down just to get an idea of where you're starting off. Next is to first create your budget. So this is not something I'm like super talented at, is creating a budget, so don't look at this and be like, yeah girl, this is what I'm gonna do. I would definitely consult with a few other sources. This is just what I do. So obviously there are things that I can't change, like I already said, rent, phone bill, utilities, basic things like that. But I decided what I needed to keep and like what really allowed me to have quality of life. There were some really big things that sure you could cut away if you just like really need to save up for something, like say you were in a bind and you had a credit card bill to pay off, or you were like, wow, I really want to go on this study abroad, but I need to raise, $5,000 by the summer. There are probably some things you're going to have to cut back on. You might not be getting your eyelashes permed or getting that nail appointment or having Netflix, things like that. Like, it sucks, but you might just have to cut back on that to save the money. But for me, I'm not really saving up for anything more that I can't handle right now. So I was going to keep those little luxuries, which for me were things like Spotify Premium, which I love, and having Amazon Prime, which as a college student was super helpful. Or I pay to keep my car in Seattle, which is pretty pricey, but it's really convenient for me and I feel a lot safer and just better having it. So some of the things were not necessary, like food, but they were worth it to me to have. So definitely notice that. And then factor that into your budget. And then also think of a food budget for yourself. I saw someone else, her name is Jordan Page from Fun Cheap or Free. She has a great account. This is obviously not like a collab or anything with her. I just really like her stuff. She had a super great idea of like $100 per week per person in your family. So she has a family of like 9 kids now. Crazy. So she obviously has a pretty large grocery budget. For me, I try to stick to like personally $100 or so a week. I don't really like eat a ton or really go out to eat or drink a lot of out coffee or like anything like that, so that usually lasts me a lot longer than some people, but that's like a pretty good way for me to budget it out. And if I know like, oh, I just need a couple items this week, maybe some fruit or some like almond milk or like smoothie stuff, like I don't need to go grocery shopping, I'll use whatever that money is and just let it roll over to the next week when I do need to go grocery shopping. Or I would use that as like a day that I'm gonna eat out. Like, oh, I didn't spend that $15 on the bread that I thought I needed. I'm gonna instead go and get like a nice lunch from Chick-fil-A or something. I don't know. But that's what I like to do. That works for me. And I think that would be very helpful for you. Next tip is to put savings into an emergency fund. That is super important. I think everyone should have savings in some capacity. I currently have a couple different bank accounts just to make sure that I have, everything in order. I like to have it very organized. So for me, that's having a couple different accounts, one of them being my savings. That's something I don't use every day. That's not something I will pull out of for something menial. It's for something what I really need. Preferably, I won't have to use it until I'm old and frail. But obviously, I am saving to move to hopefully Washington, D.C. So I've kind of been putting money into this account in order to save up for whenever I need to rent an apartment or buy a new car, or buy something that I really need whenever I move, that I will have the money ready to do that. So that's kind of some of the savings that I've been doing, but preferably it's something that you don't dig into and it's more of an emergency. You get sick, you're in a car crash, you need to fix your car, your refrigerator explodes and you need to fix that suddenly. You don't really have that in your budget for the week because you didn't know it was going to happen, but you have it now. So just make an emergency fund and a savings. Super helpful. Okay, my next tip is to track what you spend and track what you spend it on. This is super important, especially when you're just beginning to make a budget, because when I started, I didn't really know what my expenses were. I was like, how much do I actually spend on food every week? How much do I spend on personal products? I don't know. I just kind of go and buy things. That's not a super good way of going through your life if you want to be smart about money and not have debt in the future or get into a sticky situation. So for a while I started to collect my receipts and just saw every week kind of what I was normally spending, and then I got an idea of what my base level was, and then I could tweak it from there. I also like to write it down, so if I were to go to the store that day, I wouldn't necessarily write down everything I bought at the grocery store, but it was oh, I'm gonna go and get a coffee. That was only $5. And then, oh, I think I'll run to Target and I'll pick up some frivolous junk items that I just wanted to buy because they were cute. Cue my entire room. Or, oh, I'm also just gonna run and pick up some flowers. And then at the end of the day, I come home and I'm filling out my list and I'm like, oh my God, I spent $40 today on nothing. Okay, I can't keep doing this consistently. So that was really helpful to just open my eyes as to what I was really spending my money on, and then make a plan going forward from there. All right, this is kind of a fun one. For those of you who like to go on vacations, I know a lot of people love to travel. I'm personally not one of those people, which is odd. I obviously enjoy traveling, but I'm not the person who's gonna save up every penny I have to go to Europe for the summer. Personally, that's not me. So when I travel, usually it's a couple times a year to a cool place, which I'm super lucky to do. But otherwise, I also make a staycation one of my options, which I haven't really capitalized on too many times, but that's a great way to save money, is to have that as an option. So that could either be going to a hotel or an Airbnb for the night with a friend or your spouse or your sister or whoever, going to a place that's not including airfare and travel and all this stuff. It's I'm gonna go up the street and stay at the Hilton, or use their pool and their gym and just kind of have a fun time, or I'm gonna go rent an Airbnb on the beach for 2 days and that's $100 or something. That could be really cool and a cheaper way to get away from home but not spend a whole ton of money. So that's a neat option. This is a practical way of saving money that I practice every day, and I try to drink water instead of other drinks. Obviously, I am a coffee drinker now, so I do, pick up an iced coffee sometimes when I'm out and about as a treat, and it just kind of keeps me going if I can't make one in the morning. But a lot of times I don't spend money at restaurants or anywhere else getting drinks. So even that few bucks for a soda or a lemonade, or the 3 iced coffees that you buy every day at $8 a piece, that's not something I do. So then you look at the end of the month and you're like, wow, I saved $50-$70 because I didn't buy soda every time I went out to eat, or I didn't buy a coffee every single day. I brought one from home. That can really make a huge difference, not only in your budget, also your health. So I would definitely consider doing small changes like that. This is also pretty similar to the last one, but bring lunch and snacks with you. Whenever I go to work, I like to pack a lunch, which is not always the most fun, but it saves me money because I do have food at home, which is just as good. And I also, give myself a day a week or something where I'll go and get something for lunch. But bringing food every day, or even bringing a snack when you're out and you're like, man, I just want to drive through somewhere and like get a snack, or go to Starbucks and get like a $4 piece of, you know, cake pop or whatever they sell. That adds up again quickly, so bring a little snack with you, have some in your car, have some in your purse. That can be a huge help. Another little random thing is for my friends who like to read. I have recently become a big reader. Check out books from the library. I know if you're watching this during quarantine, you probably can't do that, so watch this later. But if you have the option to check out books from the library, do it. To my knowledge, library cards are free. I had one for a long time. I don't currently. I use my school library, but library cards are free and super easy to just go to your library, check out a new book, check out a magazine, whatever you need, and it's a super great way to not be wasting like tons and tons of money on Amazon for the book you're gonna read once and then just add it to your bookshelf. You can read it for free and then give it back for someone else to enjoy. Another great item is to make your gifts and greeting cards. Obviously there's always going to be a time when like maybe you can't make it, or this is a super special occasion and you don't want to make your sister's wedding gift, or you know, whatever it may be. I'm not super talented when it comes to craftiness, so I might not always be able to do that. But especially if you can, there are some really easy ways to make greeting cards that are super fun. Check Pinterest, it's awesome. Or even gifts. It's really nice to not have a bunch of just like random things around your house that you don't need. It's also not really good for the environment to just like buy a ton of stuff and then have junk that you're like putting into landfills, when you could just have a couple really nice pieces, and then the gift that you're giving to someone is either like, hey, let me take you out for a coffee and we're gonna go on a long walk and like that will be my treat to you, or hey, I made you this vase that I hand painted, or I, you know, made your new baby a baby blanket, or like I made you brownies, or like a gift that you can create yourself for a low cost or no cost is really great, and it shows a level of effort that maybe just purchasing a gift card or purchasing a gift from Target wouldn't. A kind of a quick way to make money if you really need is to sell your unwanted items. This can be like clothes that you don't want anymore. This could be just random items around your house that preferably aren't super junky, and that people would actually want to buy. Or, you know, maybe it's you're doing a bake sale, or I don't know where you'd have the capacity to do that, but just selling those unwanted items can be really lucrative. For a while, I usually purchase decently nice clothes from like nice sustainable brands that I intend to have for a long time, so I'm not just like getting rid of clothes every single year because I wear them a lot. So when I had clothes I wanted to get rid of, I was like, dang, I don't just want to like, you know, get rid of these randomly because they're really nice and I put a lot of money into them and they're still able to be worn. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of donating, but there were also some pieces that I was like, this was expensive, not worn very many times, I'd like to sell it. I used Facebook Marketplace. I made a little Instagram account for some of the things I wanted to sell. Different opinions on that, but it worked for me. I used Poshmark, just little places like that that were really helpful, and then people who were looking for the places and the things that I already had would buy them, and it was a really nice way to just send that to someone, bless someone else, and get a little money in return. Another great way to save some money is to purchase store brand items. A lot of times the items that they sell at grocery stores, that's like, I don't know, the Kroger brand peanut butter, let's say, versus the Jiffy brand peanut butter, they're really the same exact thing. It's just one is marketed with like an additional $1 on the price tag and the other one isn't. And a lot of times the not marketed product is going to also have coupons and additional offers added to it. So if you're buying that product, which is like a few dollars cheaper sometimes, and it's the same exact thing, why wouldn't you get it anyways? So try to shop store name items. That can be really, really helpful. Also shop with coupons. There's so many great apps out there now that like load coupons to it directly. When I go grocery shopping, I use a lot of apps like on Safeway, on QFC, just on those websites that automatically apply to my purchases when I go to the register, which is awesome. There's also ways to get money for gas, ways to do it when you're shopping online, just so many awesome things that if you just put in like an hour a week to just look for coupons and those deals, it can really save you a lot of money in the long run. I love looking at my receipt every time I get back from the grocery store and seeing like, you saved $30. It's like, yes, I did. Like, I'm not paying an additional $30 just because I didn't want to spend like an hour of my time putting coupons, or even 30 minutes of my time putting coupons into my phone. Like, so easy. I mean, I spend an hour on my phone, like I might as well just do it saving money. So personally, do it if you can. Another one, look for free events. Sometimes there are places, especially in the spring or around holidays, that have free events. It could be like a free movie night in the park during the summer, which is often super fun. Or like for children's events, there's a lot of them if you guys are watching this and you have young kids or have a friend who does. Or around the holidays, there's a lot of like places that put on little like baking events or like Santa Claus meet and greets, or churches will oftentimes have a potluck or just things like that, which are like free to go to. They're enjoyable. It's a farmer's market you can walk through. It's like a park you can visit with like beautiful sculptures, the rose garden, like a sailboat competition, like fun things that you can do where you're not spending a ton of money is always really nice. Combine multiple errands into one trip. I really hate when I'm going somewhere and I'm like, oh dang, I need to go to Target. I drive to Target and then I bring all my stuff home and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go back to Walgreens to pick up my prescription, or oh dang, I need to stop by Costco and get this. Like, I hate going out multiple times a day, as well as knowing that I wasted the gas to get there and wasted my time. It just is not worth it. So try to plan your days so that you're doing all of your errands at once or like in a decently close environment. Also be smart, like don't make your grocery trip the very first stop, because you might have some frozen items that you can't have in your car while you also run to pick up those pictures you printed. Just be smart about it, but that can really save some money on gas. And finally, use cashback programs. This can be super helpful, especially when you're buying things that you were going to be buying anyways, but this time you get some cash in return. Some places are a little bit more strict on this nowadays. There's not like a ton of them that do it all the times, but a lot of times you can find a cashback program. Sometimes that's even on like certain credit cards you can get which have a cashback, which is super awesome. So definitely check there and just, you might as well get some money back while you shop. And finally, the last tip I'll share with you guys today is going to be get a credit card. Now this can be controversial. This is not the end all be all tip, but for me, get a credit card. Be very smart when you have a credit card. This is not like, it can be super easy to just swipe it, think that you have money, and then suddenly you're in debt and you have interest that's building, and now you have so much credit card debt you can't get out of it and you're screwed. So don't use it like that. If you think you're responsible enough and not impulsive to the point that you can have a credit card, great. I say have a credit card because it's good for emergencies. A lot of times you can't like book a plane ticket on a debit card. Credit cards are super useful, and big one, they help you build credit. Building credit, huge. If you go to buy a house someday and you have no credit, how are they going to know that you're going to pay them on time? Or you are applying for an apartment, like I will be hopefully in Washington DC, and they're like, okay, what's your credit score? And I'm like, I have no credit. They're probably not going to rent to me, even though I can tell them 1,000 times and my pastor can tell them that I'm a good person. It doesn't really matter. So build some credit. If you're young and you're watching this in college, there are ways that you can get a credit card that your parent or guardian signs on to, so that you are not completely responsible for it financially. You're not going to build quite as much credit, but it's a great place to start. I had one of those when I was in late high school, early college, where my parents were the signature on the card, but I was using it so that I was building credit because it was my money. But in case I really screwed up and bought 1,000 TVs in a trip to Mexico, the credit card would still be paid off, the bank would be happy, and my parents would just kill me, but they would be in charge of the credit card bill. So do a little bit more research on it, but there are ways to build credit and not have to have the entire responsibility on you if you're too young to do it yourself. Alright you guys, that is it for my video today. I hope this was kind of helpful to you. Again, these are just some tips that I have found helpful. Again, I am no financial expert. I really do think a lot of these things have worked for me and have worked for people I know. But again, do your own research, find out what works for you, and just do what you can. It's always helpful to save money. Your future self will thank you, and I think you'll be much more confident when you know that you are not in a lot of debt and really scared about where your next meal is going to come from. That's never a great place to start off, so just get ahead now. If you guys like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!